finish before lunchtime, I'm sure. Listening. A bit of information about the listening test. There are 4 sections. 4 sections and 10 questions in each section. You all study at the Academy of Finance, and your math is probably quite good. That means there's 40 questions in total. Each one is worth 1 mark. The listening will take approximately 30 minutes to listen. And luckily, after that, you have 10 minutes to write your answers onto the answer sheet. You do get some extra time to write your answers on the answer sheet, which is very, very lucky. Very nice. Because that time also lets you check for mistakes, and also lets you look at the questions you missed. And maybe with a little bit of luck and some praying, maybe you can get some answers correct in that 10 minutes. IELTS is also very kind. They know that listening is a very stressful test, so they will give you some time to look at the questions in each section. You'll have lots of time to look ahead at the questions. In section 1, they give you an example. In this time only, you will hear an example relating to this question. Whenever you have any time, always look ahead. So in section 1, when they're giving you the example, just ignore it. Use that time to look at the questions. When they say, you now have some time to check your answers, ignore that. Always look ahead. Whenever you have any time, don't check your answers, don't look back. Always look at the next set of questions. So don't listen to what the IELTS man says. If he says, check your answers, don't check your answers. Look ahead. If he says, you will now hear an example, don't listen to the example. Look ahead at the questions. Whenever you have time, look ahead. Because if you know what to expect, if you know what's coming, it helps you to focus on what you're listening for. So whenever you have any time, always look ahead. Unfortunately, you only get to listen once. Unfortunately. But in real life, people only say things once. I'm not going to repeat this presentation for another 2 hours. So it's like real life, you only get to listen once. And the answers will come in order, okay? So if you hear the answer to number 1, number 2 will come after. The questions always follow the same order as the listening. What happens in the 4 sections? The first 2 sections are everyday situations, general situations. So in section 1, there's always 2 people, and they're exchanging information. Very often it's a customer in a shop, or it's somebody who is giving information. So in section 1, usually you have to listen for personal information, like the name, phone number, the address, postcode, etc. Almost always there's some kind of a form that you need to fill out. So for section 1, you're listening for very specific information, like the person's last name. If it's not a common name, they will spell it for you. So there's, my name is Thomas Montgomery. That's M-O-N-T-G-O-M-E-R-Y. However, if it's a common name like David, John, Dan, they won't spell it. My name's David, that's D-A-V-I. They won't spell that. But if it's a less common name, like last names, they'll often spell it. Be careful of tricks. They'll often try and trick you, especially for numbers. They'll say things like 00 instead of 00. My phone number is 614-0023. 0000. In spelling names, they'll often try and trick you with the letter W, because people might think it's U. My name is Waterfield, that's W-A-T-T, and someone would say U-U-T-T. So they will try and confuse you with the letter W. It's W, not double U. If it is 2 U's, they will say you, not W. But there's always two people, everyday situation, and your job is to listen for the specific details. Generally, it's quite easy. It's quite easy. Phone numbers, credit card numbers, addresses, quite easy. Generally quite easy. Be very careful with your spelling. Okay, there are some letters which are commonly confused in Vietnam. A-H, very common. E-I-Y. E-I and Y are very commonly confused. S and X, commonly confused. G and J, commonly confused. There are some other ones, so be careful with your letters. But generally it's quite easy. Part 2 is one person speaking. It's one person giving information. Very often it's a kind of tour. They're giving you a tour of the new library or a tour of the facilities. Very often a tour. So you may have a question with a map and you'll have to label the map. In my experience, especially young people, Google Maps. Everyone uses Google Maps. Not many people use paper maps. So it might be difficult to look at a paper map and follow the way. Some people are not very familiar with that. I asked my students, I said, how many people find maps questions difficult? And all of the female students put up their hand. I said, why? We never use maps. It's my father uses the map, or my brother uses the map. I say, we never use maps. Oh, that's interesting. So females, maybe you need to practice using maps a bit. But many people have problems with map questions and such too. So if you're not comfortable using a map, you may want to do extra practice with that. My advice, if you have a map, and if somebody's giving you directions, use your finger to follow the directions. If you only use your eyes, you're going to get lost. First take a left, and then take a first right, and then turn left again, and then go straight, and then turn right, then turn around, and then take a left. Where am I? But if you use your finger, turn left, take a right, now take a right, turn left. You're less likely to be lost. Part 3 is where it becomes academic. Okay, so sections 3 and 4 are in academic environments. Section 3, there'll be anywhere from 2 to 4 students. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3, sometimes even 4. You never know. Up to 4 students, up to 4 people speaking. Usually they're students talking about some kind of a course or some kind of an assignment. Or very often it's a student and a tutor. So a student is asking advice from his or her tutor. Very common in part 3. It's an educational situation, and usually it's people asking questions and getting answers. So you will have to be careful of who is who, which person is who. Luckily, they give lots of names in IELTS. So if there are 4 people, they will use lots of names, for example. So David, what do you think about the assignment? Well, John, I think it's a very interesting assignment. Jim, what do you think? Well, David and John, I think it's a very interesting assignment. Thanks, David. John, what should we do for assignment? Well, David, I think we should. So don't worry, they will use lots of names. And usually there's a balance between male and female. So if there are 4 people, there'll probably be 2 males, 2 females. So you'll know who is who. The voices are always very different. Don't worry about who's David, who's John, you'll know. And the last part is one speaker. It's usually a kind of lecture. It's usually about 4 minutes, 5 minutes. Often a professor or a lecturer giving information about something academic. So it's very often a short lecture where you're listening to understand the information about something academic. So again, the first 2 sections are general situations, and the second 2 are academic situations. That never changes. It's always the same. The situations will change. The situations will change, but the format will never change. It's always like this. Some tips, like I said, always look at the questions before you listen, so you know what to expect. Any time that you have, look ahead. Read the instructions. Just like the reading, IELTS will have instructions. So for example, no more than 2 words, no more than 1 word and or a number, etc. So make sure you notice the instructions. I always recommend circle the number. If they say no more than 3 words, circle the 3 so you can notice it. Before you listen, you won't have time to read every word and every question. You only have about 30 seconds. So it's not enough time to read every word, but at least skim the questions and maybe look for the keywords. Notice the keywords. Think about the question type. You probably won't have time to read every word, especially if it's a multiple choice. If it's a multiple choice, you won't have time to read the questions and every choice. There's not enough time. But you can skim, so you know what to expect. Every section will have an introduction. Every section will have an introduction. So for example, we're going to hear a man. You're going to hear a customer in an electronic shop inquiring about buying a digital camera. You now have 30 seconds to look at questions 1 to 4. So they'll always introduce the situation like this one. That way it helps to know what to expect. Okay, camera shop, buying a camera. Buying a camera. You might try and think of some vocabulary. Megapixels, lens, zoom, battery, memory card. You might predict some vocabulary, but they give you the situation. While you're listening, be careful because some of the answers will come very quickly after one another. So there might be 30 seconds of nothing. Blah, 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 blah. No questions. And then you'll hear number 1 and 2 at the same time. And then 30 seconds of blah, 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 blah. And then number 3 and 4 together. So when you answer a question, don't say, finished. Because you'll probably miss the next question. So always pay attention. Even if you just answered one question, don't say, just wait. Make sure you're paying attention. In English, people stress the important words. So often the answers are often stressed. It can be a good clue. So, how many megapixels would you like? I'd like 24 megapixels, please. 24 megapixels. So if you notice that some words are stressed, it might be the answer. Be careful because the things you hear will probably not be the things you read. So the things you read in the question, you probably won't hear the same words. They will use synonyms. So if you read the question and you highlight the keywords, and if you wait, where's the keyword? Where's the keyword? Where's the keyword? Where's the keyword? They didn't use it, they used the synonym. So don't just listen for the words in the question, you'll probably never hear them. Okay? Discount, 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 discount. He didn't say discount. Oh, he used sale, for example. So don't just listen for the keywords in the question, you'll probably never hear them. When you're listening, don't panic. Okay? If you didn't catch something or if you missed a question, don't panic. Just move on to the next question. If you're lost, what are they talking about? Look ahead at the next question or two, and you can get back on track. The worst thing you can do in a listening exam is panic. Say, oh, I missed that. What did he say? Oh my God. I missed that. Oh, I failed. Oh, no. Because then you're going to miss number 2, number 3, if you miss a question or if you don't catch something, don't panic. It's only 1 point. Just move on to the next one. If you get lost, look ahead, get back on track. Don't panic if you can't hear every word. Okay? You're not expected to. You're only listening for the answers to the questions. So don't worry if they're speaking quickly or if you don't understand everything. It's okay. Don't panic. The key is don't panic. After you listen, remember you'll have 10 minutes to write your answers on the answer sheet. So it only takes about 5 minutes to write on the paper, which means you still have about 5 minutes to check. A lot of people, they write really quickly. Finish, and they go to sleep. Or they just stare. And it's a waste of time saying, check your answers. Check it. No, check your answers. You will find mistakes. Guaranteed you'll find at least one mistake. And you will be able to look back at the questions and maybe guess the answers that you missed. But don't just write in 2 minutes and then go to sleep. It's a waste of time. Sleep after the exam. Likely reading, never leave blanks. Okay, if you have no idea, just take a guess. Pray to the gods, take a guess. You might be right. Who knows? And be careful. Make sure you check your spelling. Make sure you check your grammar. And make sure that you follow the instructions. If they say no more than 2 words, count your words. Make sure you write the correct answer in the correct number. Don't write number 2 in number 1, number 3 in number 2, because then they're all wrong. Make sure you write it in the correct box. If it's not in the correct box, that's marked as wrong. They won't say, well, number 3, I think he means number 2. No. Say number 2, wrong. Number 3, wrong. Number 4.